Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We are recapping WWE's Royal Rumble event tonight. And man, oh man, was it a doozy. Dom, go ahead and tell the people about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I like pro wrestling and I like getting to the point. So, John, don't bury the lead. What's the top story from the 2023 Royal Rumble pay per view?
I mean, I'm we just watch it and I'm still digesting it. And that's how impactful I believe it was. Um, Sami Zayn turns on the Bloodline after a series of events. Um, Huge. This will definitely be a huge story for sure. So that's going to be my lead. I have a ton to say about it. I believe you probably will as well. But
Yeah.
Dom, what are your thoughts on Sami Zayn turning on the Bloodline tonight after Roman Reigns' victory over Kevin Owens?
The match was, for the most part, unsurprising. Roman Reigns gets the pin, gets the win over Kevin Owens. Match started slowly, but then they start getting into sequences and kickouts, and there's a ref bump, and eventually, um, after just some brutal stuff on the outside, Roman Reigns gets Kevin Owens back in the ring. Um, Kevin Owens tries to fight back. He's been knocked out with shots to the head on the ring steps. He's been speared through the ringside barricade. Um, KO tries to fight back with a little slap. Doesn't really work. Roman spears him and gets the pinfall. And at this point, it's been kind of a dull match because there was nothing unexpected about it. It was Paul Heyman being overly exuberant on the outside. Sami Zayn also at ringside. Not the Uso, not Jay and Jimmy Uso, not Solo Sikoa, just Paul Heyman and Sami on the outside. And Sami, of course, being nervous the whole time because this is his test. And so Sammy's just nervous. Like, well, what am I? What's my test here? And apparently his test really didn't show up during the match. It was all the post match where things really spun this story forward and became kind of shocking. Um, Big story here. The two, from our standpoint, the two guys we talked about when we graded SmackDown wrestlers as being the guys who were the best, the guys we gave A's to, were Sami Zayn, and we gave an A to the Usos primarily because of Jay.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of this pay per view, Sami Zayn does not turn on the bloodline, he turns on Roman and then turns to Jay and Jimmy and says, I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. Trying to explain himself why he couldn't participate in just dismantling Kevin Owens, who at this time is handcuffed to the ropes.
Yeah.
And it's Jay who also looks like he's turning. I
Yeah.
mean, huge. The two guys who have been carrying the A storyline more than anyone were Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. And this pay per view goes off the air with Sami and Jay now as huge question marks.
Right.
So and frankly, this in many ways saved the pay per view because I got
Yes.
to tell you, up until the post match of the main event, this was a fairly dull pay per view. It
I was
was
going to come in hot. Uh, I
right.
mean, I had messaged you before, and I'm like, we're gonna sound like Jim Cornette tonight. I feel like
Right.
this show sucked. Um, Straight up,
We'll
it's
get there. We'll get there. There's
but
a lot to talk about. We'll get there. But for now, let's digest the thing that a great main event, a great closing scene as the show goes off the air can save a show.
uh,
Because you'll forget stuff. that maybe was mediocre or okay-ish or whatever, but like, what's the image as you go off the air? And my goodness, I mean, we could talk about the brutality and the fact that they're like basically at this point no selling all these great moves because apparently super kicks aren't that big a deal anymore. Neither are spears or stunners or guys getting thrown into rings. Like none of this really matters. Guys can just kind of pop up after it, and guys can take multiple shots to the chin, like dozens of them, like dozens of super kicks. Like this goes from Shawn Michaels' finishing move to win titles to just take a few dozen shots to the chin. So like we can talk about that, but like when within the context of what they presented to us, um, the post match, what a visual! What a vision!
Unbelievable.
And the crowd. How about the crowd in San Antonio? Did you notice anything? Did you notice that this crowd in San Antonio getting into the post match and some of the things they were doing?
I will have to give them credit because I never heard a "F you Roman" chant, but they
Yes,
gave that "F you Roman," and
yes.
it felt like something like from the 90s or the 80s when things would be happening to a point where the crowd would get so angry that they were throwing trash, like
Oh yeah, almost. Yeah.
and I felt like, dude, they might start throwing like it was so believable that you and I, like me personally, I know all this is staged.
Mhm.
I usually don't get hooked into it too much. Tonight, that whole segment, I was hooked. I was like legitimately getting angry with Roman Reigns. And it was like, they got me. They hooked me. Every now and then it happens, but I'm usually watching as, like an analyst. We're analyzing after the
Mhm.
show. So I take notes on things I liked, things I didn't like. For this, I was a total mark and I just was a fan. I was just like, wow, this is unbelievable. And I just think that the level of brutality with the handcuffs, and
Mhm.
he's like, he wants him to hit him in the face with a chair. You're like, dude, this
Mhm.
is sick, like, and yeah, and then and then the whole bloodline when Sammy hits Roman, all kind of like fell apart because you
Yeah.
got Jay leaving the ring and
Mhm.
he refuses to do anything and he's like in tears as he's leaving.
Yeah.
And every person involved, it was like through the roof incredible acting. Like every person, like when Roman Reigns was like yelling at Sammy and telling him like, "I love you." He's like, "You
Mhm.
were a jackass last year. You were." So
Yeah. Right.
he had to wrestle the jackass guys in WrestleMania.
You've
So
told me about that. Yes.
yeah,
What
he's
an ascent for Sami Zayn.
he had to do this horrible match with like these guys from Johnny Knoxville and these idiots, and he had to like, and he had a job for him. He went over. They went over him. He had a
Yeah.
job to jackass guys, and yeah. So I mean, it was very very powerful, and
The quality of the performances. I think what gets you to go to switch from analyst to getting into it is the quality of the performances. Because
yeah.
like I as I'm watching this, yeah, I know that somebody spent a lot of time writing this before it went out, but you still have to see the execution.
Exactly.
It's like watching any other scripted TV show, watching a movie. It's like, yes, it's written, but there's something about the quality of the writing and also the performance. Can it be delivered by the people who have to present this to you? And they did a great job of presenting it. I mean, Roman was fantastic at the end too. He's like directing the brutality. He's being so cool. And then when Sammy stops him, like Roman starts to agree with him and then hands Sammy the chair and says, "You're right. It's beneath me. You do it.
Yeah.
We're your family now. We're your family. You do it. Like you're right. You do it. Take the chair. You do it." And the San Antonio crowd, yeah, we got an FU Roman chant. We got cheers for Sammy. When Jay refuses to join in the beatdown on Sammy and slides out of the ring,
It went
we
wild.
get cheers for Jay.
Yeah, they went wild. when he did the turn, the pop was out of control. I turned
Mhm.
mine. I usually keep the volume low so I don't have to listen too much to the announcers, but
Yeah.
that's another story. So I turned it up and I'm like, oh yeah, this is a massive pop, which you knew he would get, but my God, what an ending!
Mhm.
I'm still I'm still like reacting to it. I'm
Sure.
still like,
Sami Zayn basically signs his own death warrant. I mean
yes,
in the moment, like he's got the chair, he's got to hit somebody, he hits Roman Reigns, and then he's like turns around, he's surrounded by like what are you gonna do? Hit everybody with the chair? Like
and
and this is why I think he just turned on Roman. Like it was just a statement to Roman because Roman wanted this to continue, and he hit Roman and turned to the Usos because those are the guys who've kind of accepted him more and was like trying to explain himself, and he didn't raise the chair or a hand or anything at all to Jimmy or Jay, and he didn't turn to Solo and raise the chair or anything at all. It
so
was
this is
he had enough of Roman.
mhm.
And it looks like so did Jay. And I've been told this is before you and I started watching SmackDown, and we've talked about how I really wasn't into WWE for a few years. Apparently, Jay Uso and Roman Reigns had a big feud, solo one-on-one feud for a while, and it wound up culminating in a Hell in the Cell match that was pretty rough, maybe a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
And
I wasn't
Roman
watching.
won, but it was like a really for like head of the family or something. It was Jay versus Roman for who's really the top dog in the family. And maybe it's all coming full circle to that because
Ah,
Jay, what is Jay doing? Like Jay Uso has now walked out of the ring on a huge pay-per-view. And it's not just like walking out on a regular TV show because when you're in the Alamo Dome, that's a long ramp.
yeah,
You're
right.
milking that. Like as eye roll as it was for Bray Wyatt's entrance to be even longer than normal because he's got to walk like 3 times as long. For Jey Uso to take that long walk out of the ring while the crowd turns and is cheering for Jay, like that's even better. That's so we not to toot our own horns, but when there's good storytelling, you and I know what to look for, and we saw Sammy and Jay and just how good they were, even though they weren't the top guy for
Yeah,
the last several months.
yeah.
And
We put them high.
wow, they delivered at the best at the big pay-per-view that we've seen so far because we haven't done a WrestleMania yet. So Royal Rumble's the biggest we've done. The
This
biggest show we've seen. Wow, it's Sammy and Jay who who just gave you the closing sequence that you needed and the visual. And now you can't wait to see Raw. You can't wait to see SmackDown. You can't wait
Yeah.
to see the road to WrestleMania for the next 9 weeks.
Oh no, I might watch Raw. Like this is
Right?
I only watch, and I never watch it. I only watch it. We only watch SmackDown, and
Mhm.
I'm like, it's too much wrestling. But now I'm like, what the hell happened? We gotta unpack this.
Yeah.
But it's really one of these things where um, the more I'm thinking about it, and the more I'm running it through my head, this really could be like an iconic pro wrestling moment in the history of pro wrestling. I
Yeah.
think I think it was that well done. I
Mhm.
think you're going to see you see some stuff like, for example, when the NWO formed, that's iconic, and they're throwing
Sure.
all the trash, and that's all. I think it's to that scale almost where um, they'll be talking about this for years down the road.
What happens to Jimmy and Jay? They're still the longest running tag title holders in WWE history. What
That's true.
happens to the greatest tag team maybe ever? The Uso brothers. What does this do? Like, is Jimmy supposed to coexist with Jay when they have tag matches? But then once the match is done, he goes off to his locker room with Roman and Solo and the Wise Man, and Jay's got to just go somewhere else.
Or
Lots
do
of
they
questions.
or do they say, "Hey, I'm a hothead. I walked away." Blah blah blah, and they try to patch it up. Like I'm sure Heyman's going to be involved a lot,
Oh, of
trying to
course.
patch everything up and make it all clean. And that's I guess the direction they go. But
Mhm.
honestly, just an un I just can't say enough. Unbelievable. Um, job by whomever on the creative team, because the WWE creative team gets buried on the internet like
They
crazy.
do.
Everyone complains about them nonstop. And this was a freaking home run.
Mhm.
I'm still thinking about it. When I'm done the show, I'll go rewatch it, I think.
Yeah,
You
right.
know? That's how much I'm thinking about it. So yeah, that's my feedback here. As far as the match was concerned, I do also kind of agree it was a little slow and boring, but I was okay with it being slow because Roman's a heel, so he should be working slow. He shouldn't be
Mhm.
working fast. And it was okay. It was a solid match, and that would have been fine to end the pay per view. And I said, yeah, that was a solid match.
Mhm.
We have some more intrigue for Sami Zayn, but then all hell broke loose at the end.
Right. Yeah.
That post match, that whole thing was just nuts. And I love Heyman the whole time with his mouth open, just like he's just like,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
He Paul Heyman's facial expressions are because he doesn't do as much mic work as he used to for, say, Brock Lesnar, or as he used to when he was heading an alliance. He's more of a he he doesn't have a mouthpiece role anymore. He has a an advisor's role. It's the consigliere in The Godfather. You know,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
his role kind of, but it's even up a notch because Paul Heyman's facial expressions. He can say a lot without uttering a word. And yes,
Mhm.
it's his facial expressions that are wonderful. As matches go, I've now seen two Roman Reigns matches. This one and the one that was the main event of Crown Jewel. I like the Crown Jewel match better against Logan Paul than this one against Kevin Owens. Obviously, this one, but like here, the story wasn't the match as much as it was what happens to the bloodline. Kevin Owens is in here as sort of a flashpoint. Kevin Owens winds up looking extremely strong. I mean, for all the punishment that Kevin Owens took, not only in the match, but he's been taking it for weeks. 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s, 4-on-1s, 5-on-1s. I mean, Kevin Owens comes out of this looking strong, looking tough. So I mean, he's fine going forward. I wonder what happens with him and Sami if they revisit that, or if they just kind of back burner that, and it's just because I don't even think you need a Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn back together again angle right away. I think there's enough here just to see what's going on with the bloodline and how are they going to treat Sami. Because I think it's better for a while if Sami's like a guy with no friends at all. And he's just like in no man's land. Like nobody likes him, nobody trusts him. You know, he kind of gave up all his other uh, associations in order to be in the bloodline. And now he's out of the bloodline. And this should be a hard landing for Sami Zayn. You know, they should not be just a soft landing like he and KO are like hugging it out within a week.
No, he should be down on down on his luck. He's just wandering around. And even with Kevin Owens, like maybe they'll walk by each other, but there's not much there, and he just doesn't have any friends, and he lost all his friends, and you feel bad for him because
Yeah, and
everybody
and
he's
how about
really.
Jay? I think I don't want to see too soft of a landing for Jay here.
Mhm.
I'm interested to see where this goes because before the tag team title run that they're on, he was main event Jay Uso,
One
and he could be main event Jay Uso again.
one thing I did want to point out. So even at the very end, they're chanting "F you Roman," and he's got the flowers, and he's pulling off the flowers, and he's throwing
Yep,
them at each individually, the petals.
yep,
At
yep.
That was brilliant, brilliant. This guy is awesome. I cannot believe he's gotten to where he is right now. After watching him 3 years,
Roman as a character, Roman Reigns as a
yeah,
character. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, his acting chops are much better. I can totally see him doing movies, but that's a tangent. So yes, back to what you were saying. Yeah, Roman as a character has leveled up.
And when he years ago, he was always a face. He was getting booze because he was a lousy face, and he couldn't talk in the mic. Now he turned heel. He just seems evil tonight. Like he was just being evil to a point where you can't even, it wasn't like a tweener thing anymore. It was like full blown pedal to the metal heel. We're going to have Kevin Owens locked up and we're going to make his friend hit him with a chair. And
his ex-friend just to prove him. But even before that, like just beating the heck out of Kevin Owens just to prove a point.
yes.
And Roman's yelling at Kevin Owens as Owens is handcuffed to the rope, saying, "You messed with my family. Like you messed with the bloodline.
Mhm.
Like seriously, okay, yeah, it's pro wrestling. Guys are supposed to have rivalries, but like Roman takes everything personally.
Mhm.
And anything done to anybody in the bloodline, he takes so personally. He was even for a while, and I don't know how sincere this was in the creative and the character thing, but he was even taking it personally for Sami. Like he was trying to get Sami to join in on the beatdown of Kevin Owens. He's saying, you know, this guy didn't like you. This
Yeah.
guy was trying to use you for
He
years,
hugged you
so
back.
there's like
Yeah.
Roman is the Machiavellian. He's the brutal head of the table. He makes examples of people. He's brutal not because it serves him in the moment, but because he's just trying to send messages. Like he just uses people.
Yeah. So, I mean, Dom, um, anything else about this match and this segment you want to talk about?
Not yet, because it's clearly a pivot in the storyline. So I mean, we could talk about what led up to it, but like that's boring. That's yesterday's news. I want to see where it goes. And that's the other thing about a really good pivot on a pay-per-view
Mm,
is that it gets you, okay, we remember what led to this point, but we're more interested in what happens next. So I'm perfectly fine with letting this pay-per-view be what it was and this post-match main event be what it was, and then revisit this in 6 days after the first post-Royal Rumble SmackDown and
yeah.
seeing where it is. So,
Yeah.
but for now, yes, the two guys we gave A's to, man, were they A's tonight. Sami Zayn and Jey Uso were A's.
Absolutely. And they were, it's a good point. We did give them A's and they certainly acted like it.
So
Um,
do you want to go to what was not exciting about this pay-per-view, or do you want to go to anything else that you thought was interesting enough and not totally predictable, and whatever else you thought was maybe match of the night?
well,
Because I have a match of the night in mind.
okay.
Actually, I have a match of the night in mind, and I have a not so much match of the night in mind.
Okay.
So
If you
I'll throw them both out to you. My not so much match of the night was the end of the men's Royal Rumble, where Cody Rhodes and Gunther got to just go one on one for
yeah,
what seemed like 10 minutes.
yeah.
That was really cool. But the real match of the night, women's Royal Rumble. Surprising for a few things, and a lot of great stuff that came out of it. I don't know what you think is more interesting next. I mean, from a SmackDown, because we've been watching SmackDown, so we've seen Gunther a lot. So like Gunther was awesome, just
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Um, but the men's Royal Rumble as a whole, I don't think anything to write home about. But I do like the women's Royal Rumble and the other two singles matches besides this one. Um, those can be afterthoughts, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
well, let's jump into the women's one. What did
okay.
you like about the women's Royal Rumble?
Uh, a few things about this. Number one, in trying to give the women equal time and have a 30 wrestler Royal Rumble, I'm sitting here going, I don't know 30 decent women wrestlers who are
Yeah.
in the WWE. Like this is going to be something for me to watch and see what happens. And no, not everybody who enters the Royal Rumble has to be a great wrestler, because there are some people who have to get beat quickly.
Mhm.
So that can be anybody. And in this match, there was like Chelsea Green, who got eliminated almost immediately.
Usually, and they
B
made
Fab was eliminated pretty quickly. Others were out there just for a little bit, but for the most part, I saw a lot of really good performances in this match, and it was sort of the opposite of the men's match, where the men's Royal Rumble was, I mean, it was kind of preordained. I try not to listen to the dirt sheets or anything like that, but it was almost unavoidable. You knew Cody Rhodes was coming out eventually, and he was number 30, and he won the Royal Rumble, and he's going to WrestleMania. And they've been doing a really solid job with those vignettes in that story. But there was nothing surprising or unusual about that. It was almost preordained. But this women's match, I thought, had a lot of great action, and it was not obvious to me what was going to happen here. And the ending was great. Like, so
Yeah.
much of the match was great, but the ending was also great. Let's jump into that. Rhea Ripley wins it. She and Liv Morgan start the Royal Rumble, and they each set a record for being in there for more than an hour, because Rhea Ripley wins by eliminating Liv Morgan last. And the
Mhm.
match ends with Asuka, Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley all over the top rope, but on the apron, on the ring apron, on their feet. Asuka goes to the blue mist to spit
Mhm.
in Rhea's face. Rhea ducks, and so it's Asuka, Rhea, Liv. Rhea ducks, and the blue mist hits Liv Morgan in the face. And Liv does not fall off the ring apron, but she slumps back against the ring post. And now it's Rhea eliminating Asuka, after Asuka's kind of discombobulated because she missed Rhea. And then, of course, Rhea doesn't have mist in her face, and that just clocks Asuka. And then Liv Morgan somehow feels her way over to Rhea, hits that front back cracker move that she does, where she drops down the knees, hit the opponent's chest. But
Jericho's
Rhea hangs on to the top rope, and that's almost becoming cliche. And it was almost cliche again, because there's Rhea Ripley hanging onto the top rope, and her feet are just dangling, and she's just not tall enough for her feet to hit the floor. Isn't that great? And now Liv comes over and tries to pound on Rhea's hands to make her lose her grip, and instead Rhea Ripley does this abdominal roll where her feet come all the way up, and she catches Liv in like a scissors in the head and sort of hurricane ranas her while still holding onto that rope. What a great elimination. And Rhea Ripley wins. And the biggest thing I take away from this is, wow, have they been wasting Rhea Ripley?
Yeah.
She's
Right.
been basically the weird valet in this Judgment Day angle that we don't see a lot on SmackDown, but on crossover events you see it. They do vignettes on each show. But what a tremendous in-ring worker she is.
Yeah.
She's been wasted as a valet on this faction that is kind of trending maybe downward a little bit. We don't see a lot of Judgment Day, but maybe they're
It's
trending
like a
downward.
mid.
Maybe this is the pivot for her, where Rhea Ripley now gets to show what she can really do in the ring, because this was impressive.
Yeah, that faction she's in is like I wouldn't even say it's a mid card faction. It's like a mid to bottom card faction. It's not like top guys or anything like that. Um, but yeah, she looks like $1,000,000. She
Mm,
can go,
yep.
and she's got a great attitude and look, and she looks different than all the other girls. Because I see sometimes in those women's battle royale, I'm like, I don't know who this girl is, but she just looks like a girl. Like she's just a girl in there. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I think somebody came out, some girl with like
Candice LeRae.
Candice LeRae.
There were a lot of names I was writing down for the first time tonight.
Uh, Candice LeRae, honey, you didn't not such a great showing. Not such a didn't know who the hell you were.
Yep.
Probably not going to see you again. You'll probably be in NXT if you're going to be wrestling, and I won't be watching. This was not like there's some people in there I wasn't like blown away with.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked the end when Nia Jax came in. And are you familiar with her?
I am not familiar with her, but apparently she was the first person to ever compete in the men's and women's Royal Rumble matches in
Yeah.
the same pay-per-view. And I like how there was some gravitas when she stepped into the ring. Like, everybody kind of backed away and encircled her, and then she started mouthing off to everybody, and so everybody jumped her.
I think
And
she
so
was cursing too when she was mouthing off. I'll have to see. I think she dropped an F bomb which
She
you
maybe.
definitely can't.
Hey, the entire San Antonio crowd dropped several F bombs at the end, so we'll let that one go there, Nia Jax.
But I loved her because she was because they zoomed in on her and she's like, "I'm back, bitch. I'm
Yeah,
back, bitch."
yeah, just going around the ring like everybody. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and then eventually, it was kind of a comedy spot she came in for, in a way, because she came in, she's, like, powerhousing everybody, talking all this trash, and then everybody gangs up on her and throws her over, and she's like,
well,
you
but
know?
before that, everybody gangs up on her, and then she kind of does this powers
Yeah.
out and throws everybody off of her. Then they do a couple of spots where someone's trying to slam her. Can they get her up? And nobody can get her up. Rhea Ripley almost gets her up, and then did you see what Rhea did?
The pump handle slam?
Got her up for the pump handle slam. That looked pretty good, and that was what led to all of the other a lot of other wrestlers ganging up and eliminating Nia Jax. Differences between the women's and the men's match. By the time Cody Rhodes enters, he's one of only 8 wrestlers who are left on the men's side, and the men's side is a lot slower moving. By the time Nia Jax comes out, she is one of 12 women
They
wrestlers
had a
who are
lot of
still
people
alive.
hanging around.
They had a lot of women still involved, and then some elimination started happening quickly, and suddenly it was Asuka and the first 2 women who were out there, and
Asuka got a
it
big
was a
pop.
great finish.
Asuka got a big pop when she came out.
She did, and deservedly so. And I don't know if she does the blue mist a lot. Do you know if that's her gimmick?
She was doing green before, but,
Okay,
she was doing the green mist. Maybe it's blue because it looks like she's doing a little modification of her character because she got a
okay.
different face paint than before.
Maybe
So
she
she must
doesn't. Maybe she matches like you match your socks to your tie or something, which I have not done tonight. Let's not go there. Okay, I'm dressed up. I'm looking as good as I can here. I don't know how to dress myself, but I'm doing my best here, folks. Don't bury the lead. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me in the comments, do you like the tie? But yeah, maybe she's color coordinating. When she spits the mist, I thought just because of being a beyond WWE fan. This was, just 5 or 6 days ago was the great Muta's final match over in Japan. Muta bye bye. And of course, that match featured Muta spitting the green mist as part of the closing sequence that eventually wins the match. So, yeah, it's Asuka spitting the mist. Like, look at that. Maybe a little great Muta nod. Who knows?
It was. I feel like that was part of it. When Asuka came out, she got quite the pop.
She did. And I'm
Um,
like, who is this that everybody's cheering for her?
so Asuka got quite the pop, and that was good because it was Dragon, and they had like Candice, whoever, come out. I'm like, who the hell's that? Some
Mm-hmm.
other girl from NXT. I'm like, who the hell's that? You know, and like, and the crowd's just sort of like, all right, all right. And then Asuka came out, and you're like, there's our star. You know, there's our big wrestler that everybody likes. Um,
Now, there was
Oftentimes,
some great heels in there, weren't there?
yeah,
I was
and
impressed by Damage Control. You and I, when we
yeah,
did our grading, we gave Damage Control Bs because they're not much in the character standpoint, but we noted that whenever they're in the ring, they get it done,
yeah.
and they,
Well,
they were fantastic in this match.
Damage Control was great, and I absolutely love Bailey when she comes into the entrance. So
Uh-huh.
during her, like, when she comes in, she walks out and she's like, goes to like fake high five people. She's like, no,
Right.
no, no, no. And she's like this, she like won't touch them. And then there's somebody with a sign and she just grabs the sign and rips it. You
Yep.
know? So all that heel stuff, like, ew, don't touch me. Oh, I'm gonna steal your sign and rip it. Like all that stuff I love. That is what every heel should be doing, you know?
Right.
That you should be stealing the sign, you should be ripping the sign, you should be, you know, chirping with the crowd, you know?
And we agreed that we like Bailey and that we just don't see enough of her on SmackDown to
Yeah.
properly evaluate it. But we kept saying if we saw her more, she would be much, close to top level talent. And she is. She's one of those women who can wrestle and can like you're saying, if she's supposed to be a heel, it's clear that she's a heel. And they had a great program in the Royal Rumble with Becky Lynch and Damage Control. They're fighting on the outside. while none of them are still eliminated because they just slide under the ring and start fighting on the outside. Um, Becky Lynch gets thrown over the announce table and is down for quite a while. And then so when everybody kind of, I won't say everybody, but it was kind of like you could forget about her.
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't, because I'm writing down every entrant in here and who's still out, and I'm looking at my list and going, okay, well, Becky Lynch is still not eliminated. She's going to come back in eventually. And she does, and she gets right back into it with Damage Control. And then they kind of get, after Damage Control doing a lot of eliminations, I mean, they eliminate Dana Brooke. Dakota Kai eliminates Emma. Damage Control eliminates Roxana Perez, who got a nice pop from the San Antonio crowd. She's an NXT wrestler. Natalya and Shayna Baszler, who were going at it, get double eliminated by Kai and Sky. Candice LeRae gets eliminated by Io Sky. Then, very quickly, Dakota Kai gets eliminated by Becky Lynch. Io Sky gets eliminated by Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch gets eliminated by Bayley, and Bayley gets eliminated by Liv. And then once Becky Lynch and Damage Control on the outside, they start fighting again. So they were kind of in this match just to not only to make a good showing, but just to continue their feud.
Yeah.
They apparently were supposed to have a steel cage match on Raw's 30th anniversary show, but because the opening segment ran so long, they had to kill one of the segments. And so they wound up turning that steel cage match between Bayley and Becky Lynch into just kind of a quick beatdown and a no contest.
Hmm.
So this Royal Rumble, their participation in here looks like it's furthering their storyline. This blow off is coming. But great to see that, even though it didn't factor into really the finish or the second half to the Rumble match. Anybody you haven't seen before in this Women's Royal Rumble who you saw and were impressed by? Because you mentioned Nia Jax, but had you seen her before?
Oh, there was somebody. I don't know her name.
Okay,
She
describe her.
came out with a stick. Like she had red hair. She had like red and black hair, and she came out with this stick.
Big
Um,
red stick.
yeah, and then the ref made her take the stick away, and she shoved the ref. Did
Yeah.
you see this?
Was that Xia Li?
Xia Li.
We
Yeah.
haven't seen her in the red outfit yet. You have noted that they started making her do ninja moves. And so when
Yeah.
she came out today, I'm like, wow, they're taking it up a notch. She's now doing the ninja moves with
With the
that
stick.
large staff.
Yes, that's the one where I'm like the gimmick's a little racist. Yes, and that's why
But
I
she
know.
was good in the match.
Yeah, she went in full head of steam because it was sort of slow. Sometimes they go in slow.
Mhm.
She went in full head of steam, kicked one girl, went saw some other girl, kicked her, threw some other girl in the corner, started hammering her in the face. Like she just went in really hard, and
Mhm.
I'm like, I like that. Like make your like you're only gonna get a little bit of TV time here.
Yep.
Make it work. There's some. I feel like some of the wrestlers go in there, and I keep gonna keep ragging her as this Candice woman. I'm like, I'll never see her again. She didn't do shit in the match. Like you
Mhm.
got one shot when you're in that rumble to stick out and do something cool and unique. You gotta go for it, right? So
And how about Xia Li gets eliminated by, do you remember?
no.
Zelina, who I was surprised at because we've only seen her as this mouthpiece of Legado del Fantasma. She lasted long enough in this Royal Rumble match where I said, okay, she can wrestle if she has to. She eventually gets eliminated by a returning Lacey Evans. They did a neat spot where Lacey's got the Cobra clutch on her on up on the top turnbuckle and basically carries her over the ring. And as Zelina is fading and fading, Lacey just kind of dumps her.
Lacey's got such a weird gimmick because she's like a heel, but she's a soldier. So
She's
I don't.
Sergeant Slaughter. She's the heel. She's Sergeant Slaughter's
Yeah,
heel run. She's doing the Cobra Clutch.
yeah, right. So it's just weird to boo a military person. It's like a weird thing, you know.
Especially in the WWE because they do a lot of that stuff. They
They
do
do
a
a
lot of that
lot.
military themed things. Yes.
They're into that, yeah. So I thought that was a little strange, but I thought her gear looked cool. She stuck out, and
Mhm.
she had a pretty good performance, I'd say.
Yeah.
Um, I would have to say Yeah, so I really liked Asuka because when she came in, it felt like the match was on. We okay, we're doing
It
it.
felt like that to the crowd too.
Hmm. The crowd popped for her, and I feel good for Liv Morgan because you know she had some issues here with Ronda, and I was like, I don't know if she can wrestle or what the deal is, but she can, and they gave her a lot of time. That's an impressive showing by her in the Rumble.
She can bump, and that's important in a Royal Rumble, especially if you're going to be in there a long time. You need people in there early who can bump. And
Mhm.
that I was also impressed by Rhea being able to do that. Rhea Ripley's a larger wrestler. She's strong, but she's the kind of wrestler who other wrestlers can really lay in a shot on her, and it's not going to kill her. And she can pick you up and toss you around and have it be done safely. Like she looks like she's sort of like Raquel Rodriguez. I mean, Ronda Rousey had the match of her life, we thought, with Raquel Rodriguez because it looked like Raquel could physically handle her. And so Rhea can bump and other wrestlers can bump off of her and Liv can bump. And so, if you're going to put somebody in the match and have them stay in there for an hour, that's why you do it, because it's somebody who can bump, who can keep the match moving and isn't going to make it look like it's not a fight.
Mhm. Hey, Dom. Yeah, I'd have to say, pretty happy with the winner and pretty happy with the women's Royal Rumble.
So what's
And
next here? What do you
so
think?
let's move on to our next match. Um, do we talk about this blackout match or whatever? You want to talk about that?
We could. I mean, I don't know how much more you want to get into the men's Royal Rumble.
I know. Maybe we'll jump to the men's Royal Rumble. How's that sound?
I
So,
like it. It was a good opener. Gunther sets a record. He's in this match for 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 25 seconds. Before getting eliminated by Cody Rhodes, the returning Cody Rhodes, who was entrant number 30. So at the end of this match, we had several minutes of 1 versus 30.
yes,
And it
and
was good. And Cody Rhodes was kind of preordained for this. Once there was no other surprise entrant in this match who you could see winning, it was preordained Cody Rhodes. But I like how they finished this match. Cody Rhodes, he gets to look strong. He eliminates a lot of people. He almost eliminated everybody once he got in there. He eliminates Dominic Mysterio. He eliminates Braun Strowman. I I
Logan
lost track
Paul.
of whether or not he eliminated Ricochet. Cody and Seth combined to eliminate Austin Theory. Then Seth Rollins eliminates Logan Paul, who snuck back into the ring. Cody eliminates Logan Paul. So Cody does a lot of eliminations, but he needs to show people that he's healthy enough to go one-on-one. And so giving him a good, what was it, 10 minutes, maybe at least, it felt like at least 10 minutes with Gunther, where they're going one-on-one at the end of this Royal Rumble match so that Cody can take bumps and take shots and start delivering shots. It was like we got a mini one-on-one match at
Yeah,
the end of the Royal Rumble. And I think it was great to see as a fan. And I think it's important for Cody to show that in his comeback. It can't be such a lousy work
yeah, where
coming
he just
back into the
knocks
Royal
everybody
Rumble.
out, I win.
Yeah,
I loved how they had that match. First of all, if Cody's going to come back and he's going to have a match, he might as well wrestle the best damn wrestler on in the company.
yeah,
Well, you know, um,
Gunther.
Bell to Bell, I'd say he's the best wrestler they have, and so he's in good hands. And I also liked this because Cody kept doing things where he was standing on the outside and like almost eliminated all these times. And I like that because they were really working. Like, I'm like, he could slip here. Like
Yeah,
he could have slipped in one of these spots.
could have
And
been a botch.
all the potential botches were there. And I was
Yeah,
like, because imagine that. Cody gets eliminated and Gunther, I would love it, but
sure,
Gunther would be the
sure.
guy. Um, I ended up really liking the end as a result. Really happy because I love Gunther that the WWE is pushing him. I mean, he's their intercontinental champion. He had a fantastic performance in the Royal Rumble. I
Looks
think he's got
strong.
I think he's going to be he's got a bright future. And I
Yeah,
think one day he'll be in the runnings for the big belt, you
yeah.
know.
People keep talking about how his match with and they brought this up on the announce table that Gunther and Sheamus were the first two entrants here. Sheamus lasted 52 minutes and 30 seconds, not too shabby. And they mentioned that Gunther versus Sheamus had a fantastic match at a pay-per-view, maybe first half of the year, 2022, that may have been match of the year quality. We saw them rekindle that for a little bit on a SmackDown episode where they had a pretty decent TV match.
I think
But
they
yeah,
did.
Gunter's awesome, and Sheamus did surprisingly well for a guy who sometimes gets slogged for at this point in his career, just being kind of slow and he just punches people and then eventually kicks people.
Yeah, he's got a simple move
He
set.
gave a good showing. Anybody surprise anything surprise you in this match, whether it's a sequence, a face off, or somebody you hadn't seen in a while or hadn't heard of before this match who impressed you?
Oh, the surprise of the night. Booker T, baby.
In Texas.
In
He's a
Texas.
Texas guy. I mean, he's not. I don't think he's a San Antonio guy, but like it's Texas. Booker T.
And he went down, he came down and he had looking old. That's what I mean. The Royal Rumble for me, I love when they just bring in the random old guys that like, hey, they've hung them up, but they could do a Royal Rumble, you know.
Yeah,
So
you could come in and bump for 2 minutes and get thrown over the top. That's probably the worst part. Is I got to go over the top.
yeah, so he was in. Booker T went in, and I love the Harlem Heat theme song from
Mhm.
WCW. He had that theme song, and the crowd was loving it. And he did the spinneroonie, and the crowd was like, "Yeah, going
Yeah, yeah,
crazy!" After he did his spinneroonie, and then he gets knocked out. I liked it. It's a good showing, you
yeah.
know. Um, but yeah, so Booker T was the surprise one for me. How
Okay.
about you?
I liked that Logan Paul was back because he was also hurt in Crown Jewel, and there was questions as to when would he be ready, and if he was recovered, would he go back to pro wrestling? Because you try it out and you get hurt. So would he say like, no, I want to make it back and do it again? And Logan Paul came out and uh, I think he gave himself a good show. He was entrant number 29. So he wasn't out there for a long time, but I thought he did well. He and Ricochet, did you like that double spring off the top rope from opposite sides of the ring into that double lariat in the middle of the ring?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I mean,
Uh,
for just the spot monkey thing, I thought it was pretty cool to watch.
I thought it was a good spot. The announce team kind of annoyed me because they thought it was like the most amazing thing ever because they're pushing Paul, so they're like, "Oh, this is amazing!" Oh, I was like, "All right, calm down." It wasn't that great. Like it,
It's like
but
and Ricochet did the exact same thing that Logan Paul did. So like you cannot see that move and be like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe it, Logan Paul!" Like it was mirroring. They both did the same thing.
I saw. So here's the thing, though. He definitely. So this is a situation here, kind of how I talked about earlier. You have a short time in there. Make the most of your opportunity when you're in there,
Mm,
especially some of these guys or girls that don't get a lot of screen time.
mhm.
This is the time to do it. People are looking at you on the Royal Rumble. There's 50,000 people in this stadium. There's tons of people watching this right now. So really make the most of it. And yeah, Logan did.
I liked Seth Rollins' performance in this. By the time Cody entered and there were 8 people left, Seth Rollins had been in there the longest. He was 15.
Mhm.
Incredibly, Dominic Mysterio had been in there the second longest. He was entrant number 18. And he did not look bad in this match. When Braun Strowman looked pretty good, but like Braun Strowman, Ricochet, Logan Paul, and Cody Rhodes, they were the last four out. So for them to be within, still alive by the time Cody comes out, not a big deal. I mean, it was really Seth Rollins in there a long time and performed well. Um, Gunther, of course, and Gunther doing those slaps to Cody Rhodes' surgically repaired pec, I was actually getting nervous,
Hmm.
like legitimately, like, oh, like what if he's not all that, you know, what if he's not as healthy as he wants to be?
And he's attacking it directly, which is crazy.
Yeah,
He was going right after it, which I mean,
and it's bruising up.
and it's bruising up, right? So they make good use of it, especially if it's healthy. So Dom, that's the men's Royal Rumble. Cody Rhodes wins.
We got two
Really?
singles matches,
Wait,
two singles matches that were kind of related here.
yes.
What did you think of the pitch black match, the Mountain Dew? I thought visually it was interesting. They turned off the lights, but they had fluorescent something glow in the dark on the ring ropes. They had Bray's body paint. Some of his body art was glow in the dark, and LA Knight's tights and boots were fluorescent as well. They had some fluorescent things around the ring, so it was an interesting visual. It was an unusual visual that I'll take for one short match. At the time when this match went off, I was saying to myself, "Oh boy, this is going to be a lousy pay-per-view. This is this is the worst predictability ever." Like we were concerned that they would just squash LA Knight and it wouldn't be much of a match, and it wouldn't be, it wouldn't make LA Knight look good. It wouldn't make Bray Wyatt look good either, and it would just be a gimmick. It would just be an unnecessary gimmick. And it kind of was. And then Uncle Howdy appears at the end and does his appears at the top of some entrance structure at the end and does a flying elbow onto LA Knight through the stage there after LA Knight and Bray Wyatt had kind of fought post match up the ramp. I mean, Bray did win with his sister Abigail, but the match wasn't much to talk about. I hope that they have something else for LA Knight to do after this, because I think he performed well enough in this whole storyline where he's an asset to this roster.
So here's my piece. Um, the match was awful, and by awful I mean Bray Wyatt went in there. I looked at him. He's probably about 25 pounds heavier than he was when he left WWE. So he's
Okay,
not
so you
working out at all.
okay?
And he's slow in there.
Okay.
He only did a couple freaking moves, and he just did his finisher. Um, I didn't mind. It was better than I thought it would be as far as the visual, because I'm like, okay, it's not pitch
Yes.
black. You can see them.
Yes.
Still kind of stupid, but I can still see them. So, you know, uh, I wanted LA Knight to win because LA Knight is the only person that's in this rivalry that's done anything. Bray Wyatt's done all these stupid gimmicks and skits and all this crap I have to listen to. And then LA Knight gets the mic in his hand, and I'm like, wow, this is entertaining. So I wanted LA Knight to go over, and he didn't. So I'm like, do you think this Bray Wyatt? Do they really think this Bray Wyatt thing is good? Because it sure isn't. So I don't understand why you put him over.
It's been a slow burn, and I'm not impressed with round one of him actually getting in the ring. I don't have anything to compare Bray Wyatt to as far as seeing him wrestle before, but I,
And he
I
has,
I just hope LA Knight's not buried. I mean,
yeah,
he's shown enough where he's an asset to this roster.
he needs to get away from these morons and wrestle somebody that's good and have a rivalry with them.
Mm.
Maybe it's Seth Rollins. Maybe it's somebody that's good.
Yeah,
Like,
he doesn't have to win all the time, but he should be in the ring where the payoff in the ring is up to his talents as an in-ring worker.
hmm. So
And the other only other match we had was kind of tied in with this because it was Bianca Belair retaining the Raw Women's Championship against Alexa Bliss, and not much to write about in the match, except at one point Alexa Bliss went for what looked like a Sister Abigail. Apparently, she had a history with Bray Wyatt and his faction earlier. I'm not aware of that, but they've been playing that up. Um, she does not hit the Sister Abigail, winds up getting pinned by Bianca Belair, who is just obviously bigger and stronger, and she was going to win this match. And then an Uncle Howdy-ish video appears on the video wall at the end of the match as Alexa Bliss is alone in the ring. So, I mean, the worst, most pushed down our throats. I mean, storyline that we've seen was involved in two of the three singles matches on this pay-per-view. It almost feels like what you've been describing the Roman Reigns heel run as, where people just were not into it and were booing. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this Bray Wyatt Funhouse Uncle Howdy whatever thingamajig is going to get to that point where the crowd where it loses its new car smell, and now the crowd's like just look, we gave you a chance, we're not into it, you got to do something, you got to
Well,
give us more than this.
I was Googling a little bit about this match and everybody was burying it. They're like, it sucks.
Alexa Bliss, Bianca Belair, okay.
No, no, no. The previous one with Bray Wyatt and
Oh yes, that one, yes.
so everybody's burying it, not just us. And I was angry with the second match because I'm like, he's a part of this now. I'm like, who is this guy? Who do they think he is? He needs to be off of the TV. He just got fired and they brought him back. And now he's in 2 goddamn segments. I'm like, get him off my TV. Please. Please.
Hey. So I don't want to do an Italian goodbye because the Royal Rumble was late and we've been going for a while, but I do want to do somewhat of a goodbye here that is Vince McMahon related.
Okay.
Because we've been talking for a while, and so have lots of other people. As okay, Vince is back behind the scenes running the company, trying to sell it. So how much of that is creeping into creative? And so there's been a lot of talk, and we've discussed a little of it. Of Vince McMahon, what are the Vince things creatively that are sort of cringy that we don't want to see creep back into the WWE? But I think this is the perfect opportunity to talk about that. Vince McMahon, over his long career, he did do a lot of innovative stuff that made its way onto TV. I mean, pay-per-views as a whole is a big thing that he helped create. And Vince McMahon's creative was behind the Royal Rumble. I don't think, besides giving us WrestleMania and the fact that pay-per-views are huge and that TV can be your big moneymaker and licensing and all these things that he did business-wise, as far as what Vince McMahon's legacy is for creative in the ring, I think it's what we saw today, the Royal Rumble. And I know Pat Patterson gets some credit for that, for being on the creative team, but like Vince wanted to do a battle royal that was special, that had something else. And this was it. This is what his brainstorming session came up with. And this is for all the knocks that Vince McMahon gets for doing some cringy cartoonish stuff and for pushing maybe stuff in creative that we don't like to see and that doesn't age well. The Royal Rumble has aged very well. The Royal Rumble match is it's a gimmick that holds its own as a gimmick.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Like, even if you don't know who's in this match, you will watch it because the match itself is compelling. And they seem to find some ways to make it pretty good, at least every year. This is Vince's crowning jewel, this Royal Rumble pay-per-view and the Royal Rumble match. And we saw 2 very different ones today, men and women, but I think they delivered in their own way for different reasons. And overall, hey, if we talk about the bad, let's talk about the good. This is good Vince. Yes. The Royal Rumble is good Vince. I like it.
Yes. No, well put, Dom. I totally agree. And that's a great point. Vince did create it. So we're not just burying him. We're going to talk about the good stuff he's done. So
yeah, we got to be fair. We got to. I don't have a dog in this fight other than I want the TV product to be good enough so that I'm not wasting my time for 2 hours on a Friday or for 4 hours on a Saturday for a pay-per-view watching, I stream online on Peacock and, people get up, but whatever it is, like this is like a double show for me tonight. And I just want it to be good enough where I'm not sitting here regretting my decision to sit down and watch.
If you're tuning in now and you're tuning in late, we talked a lot about the end of the show, and that alone was worth the show.
Sure, if you
That
can catch this on replay, do it.
Yeah, if you can catch it, that was amazing.
Yep.
All right, Dom. Well, kind of getting late here on the East Coast. It's 1:30.
It is.
Um,
It is the wee hours of Sunday morning in the good old New Jersey here.
yes, yes. So,
It's been fun.
it has been a lot of fun. I thank you so much for joining today, and thank you everybody that's watching and has been watching our shorts, and we're watching our videos. Our shorts are getting some more views. Our little clips are kind of getting some. Just we take clips from these live shows and
Mhm.
post those, and those are getting some traction. So it's very exciting. So if you're watching, go ahead and click the like and click subscribe. It helps us out a ton. So please go ahead and do that. And Dom, Royal Rumble's in the books. Thanks so much for your time. Bye, everybody.